Hey, if we have everyone quiet.
Hi, my name is Susan. Would you lend a large amount of money to someone that you're unsure is able to pay you back later on? So very similarly, do you believe that government should provide bailouts to failing companies? We're talking about millions and billions of dollars here. I used to believe that they should because if the companies have failed, there will be a large amount of unemployment. However, through my research, I've noticed that that isn't the case. If you let me, I'll show you why. I'll show you what changed my mind. I will talk about what a bailout is, the effects it actually has on jobs, and why companies shouldn't be bailed out. So, what is a bailout? Joe Oliver of U.S. Politics, the U.S. Politics writer of News Flavor, wrote, when a nearly bankrupt party is helped out by another party, giving them assets that can easily convert to cash. One example is the Chrysler bailout. Alex Taylor, the senior editor of Fortune magazine, had explained why they have failed in 2009. He said, when things turned bad a year or two ago, they were too heavily invested, which they were investing on cars and large trucks that were originally popular but has declined, which means that not a lot of consumers are buying them. This also shows that they've invested more than they should have. According to CNN Money, they had to reach a deal, which the government was able to give a bailout, but they had to give up a lot of things. So these are all the Chrysler sacrifices. As you can see, they had to remove the CEO, Robert Nardelli. They had to sell a large part of their company, which totaled up to 85%, leaving them with 15%. Fiat, which is one of the companies that bought part of Chrysler, 20%, is now calling the big shots. And some of the operations that had to be temporarily closed. This will allow Chrysler to repay the bailout quicker. Now that we've seen what a bailout is, let's see how they affect jobs. So, a lot of people like bailouts. Well, a lot of people believe that bailouts should be offered because they prevent mass unemployment. James Quack wrote in Baseline Scenario that large companies which have hundreds of thousands of workers will go unemployed if the company had closed down and went bankrupt. Eric Robertson of the Burnt Orange Report has said that Chrysler's bailout has saved 1.4 million jobs. But on the other hand, when you look at it, you realize that bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean that a company is closed down, which means that all the workers in a company is not necessarily unemployed. Jeffrey A. Myron, the chairman of the Department of Economics for 6 years and now a senior lecturer of Harvard University, has said that bankrupt companies do not disappear. The ownership actually shifts over to the creditors, such like the airline industry. And he also quoted that bankruptcy punishes those who take excessive risk while preserving those assets of a business that remains profitable. If you think about it, if somebody closed down their company, they won't be making any money. However, if they kept it open, there is a possibility that they can get more money coming in. Now that we see the bailout may not help save jobs, let's see how companies can actually save themselves. Chrysler is often seen as a model. Floyd Norris had quoted that Chrysler proudly posed a check for a little under $813.5 million. The company's final payment of the $1.2 billion it had borrowed from the government guarantee in 1980. Without the federal help, Chrysler would have gone broke. This shows that government has been a savior to Chrysler. However, according to Robert Barber, the chief economist of Hone and Company, he quotes, The genius was that when you were done with all the sacrifices Chrysler had all the sacrifices, Chrysler was no longer bankrupt. As you can see, all these sacrifices, such as the selling of a large amount of this company and the temporary closing down of some of the operations, it shows that Chrysler didn't need the government in order for it to get back on its own feet. It just perhaps needed the government as a push or a guide to what it should do to bring back some of its assets. Companies can also steer away from bankruptcy on its own. Jeffrey A. Myron says that the bailout encourages companies to take large and prudent risks and count on getting bailed out by the company. Therefore, if companies stop taking risks, it wouldn't have to be bailed out. Floyd Norris also says, investors who are confident they will be bailed out are less likely to exercise prudent judgment and thus increase the need for a bailout. So if companies didn't know that the government would bail them out, it wouldn't make such risky decisions. So to wrap up, we've talked about what a bailout is, its effects on jobs, and why the government shouldn't give bailouts. I'm sorry if I can't change your mind if you still believe that companies should be bailed out. But you should ask yourself, should we allow our government to be taken advantage of? Should we allow large companies to get away with dangerous risks just because they feel like they can? Thank you.
Good, thank you.